Rome didn't conquer the known world because its soldiers were braver than everyone else. The Celts were brave. The Parthians were brave. The Germans were so fearless they fought half naked in snowstorms. Rome ground all of them into dust anyway. Here's why. While every other army in the ancient world was foraging, starving, and gambling on supply chains that broke the moment a bridge washed out, Rome had already solved the food problem permanently, industrially, at scale. The Roman legion moved 500,000 men across 5,000 miles of active frontier, not by luck, not by conquest of local food stores, by engineering, by standardization, by treating calories the same way they treated road construction, as a logistical problem with a permanent solution. Every Roman soldier, nicknamed a mule of Marius by the officers who designed the system, carried a 60 to 80-pound pack, 15 days of food inside it. No babysitting, no supply wagon required. The soldier was the supply line. What was in that pack is what nobody talks about, and what's in that pack is why you're sitting in a civilization those soldiers built. Chapter 1. Panis Quadratus. This was not bread the way you think about bread. The Roman military bakery, the pastrinum, operated like a factory, standardized ingredients, standardized weight, standardized output. Every loaf came out the same, circular, dense, and pre-scored into 8 wedges around the top. That groove wasn't decorative, it was a rope channel. Soldiers looped twine around the loaf and hung it from their pack, hands-free, no bag required. You could march 20 miles with your bread swinging off your kit and never touch it until you needed it. Each loaf was roughly 700 to 800 calories. 2 loaves covered a soldier's daily grain requirement. The scoring meant you could break it apart in the dark, in the rain, without a knife, by feel alone, and hand out portions to 8 men with zero argument about fair distribution. The Roman army eliminated the logistics of bread by baking the logistics into the bread. That's not food, that's engineering with flour. Chapter 2. Posca. Every army in the ancient world had a water problem. Rivers near encampments got contaminated fast. Standing water carried disease. Wells got poisoned. Soldiers who drank the wrong water died of dysentery before they ever saw a battlefield. This killed more armies throughout history than any enemy ever did. Rome had already solved it, and the solution cost almost nothing. Posca was water mixed with low-quality sour wine, essentially diluted vinegar, plus medicinal herbs like coriander. That's it. No technology, no filtration system, no special equipment. The acidity dropped the water's pH low enough to kill the bacterial load sitting in whatever questionable source the legion was pulling from. Harmful pathogens couldn't survive it. The vitamin C content from the herbs and fermented wine prevented scurvy and extended campaigns, and the slight caloric hit from the wine kept soldiers functional when grain ran short. When Christ was dying on the cross and a Roman soldier offered him a drink from a sponge, that was Posca, the legion's standard-issue hydration, their version of a water bottle. For a penny per liter at scale, Rome solved the problem that crippled every other army on Earth. Chapter 3. Garum. If you walked past a Roman garum factory, you would turn around and leave. It smelled like a crime. Garum was made from fish intestines, the offal every other culture threw away. They packed the offal into massive ceramic vats with salt, sealed the top, and left it in the Mediterranean sun for months. The enzymes in the gut broke down the fish protein from the inside out. What you got wasn't rotting fish, it was fermented, concentrated, shelf-stable liquid protein. The Romans put it on everything, not because they liked the taste, though they did, but because a soldier carrying a small clay flask of garum could flavor bland grain rations, replace salt when salt ran short, and get a concentrated hit of protein and electrolytes from a container the size of a modern hot sauce bottle. Garum factories processed thousands of liters at a time. Excavated Roman military sites from Britain to Syria turn up the same garum amphorae. This wasn't a regional delicacy, it was standardized military logistics, fermented fish sauce as strategic infrastructure. The probiotic culture from the fermentation supported gut health in soldiers whose diet was otherwise brutally monotonous. This matters more than it sounds. A sick army doesn't build roads or hold formations. A healthy gut kept the machine running. Throw away the intestines, that's the part that builds empires.
Chapter 4. Puls. Rome's enemies had a nickname for Roman soldiers: pulsphagi, seed eaters. They meant it as an insult. They were describing a superpower. Pulse was a thick porridge made from emmerweed or spelt, cooked down with water, salted, finished with whatever fat was available: lard, olive oil, rendered tallow, sometimes vegetables, sometimes nothing but grain, salt, and fat. It sounds like punishment food. It fueled the construction of 50,000 miles of road. Every night, regardless of how far they'd marched, Roman legionaries dug a full defensive camp. Ditch first, 4 feet deep, 5 feet wide around the entire perimeter. Then the earthen rampart from the displaced soil. Then the stakes. Then the tents in standardized formation inside. Every night, every single night, for centuries. That is not possible on a high-sugar, processed diet that spikes and crashes. Complex carbohydrates from emmerwheat and spelt burn slow and steady. Roman soldiers weren't lean and wiry. Contemporary accounts describe them as physically powerful, built for sustained labor, not explosive sprints. Pulse wasn't a poor man's meal. It was a calculated fuel source for human machinery that had work to do around the clock. Your enemies can mock what's on your plate all they want. Wait until they see what you built by breakfast. Chapter 5. Buccellatum. Every Roman soldier carried insurance against the worst-case scenario. Buccellatum was hardtack, twice-baked flour biscuit, all moisture driven out by the second firing, so hard and dry that bacteria and mold had nothing to work with. No water activity, nothing to spoil. Shelf life up to 2 years at room temperature. It was completely inedible dry. You had to soak it in Posca or stew. That was intentional. It wasn't a meal, it was an emergency measure. The break-glass ration for when the army was cut off, when grain mills were behind enemy lines, when the campaign stretched past every original calculation. Roman soldiers kept their buccellatum even when they had better food available. You don't eat your emergency ration until it's actually an emergency. The name became a word. Buccellarii, the soldiers who ate biscuits, eventually became the term for elite bodyguard units throughout the late Empire. Men so reliable, so self-sufficient, so capable of sustaining themselves when everything else collapsed, that their food became their identity. The twice-baked biscuit outlasted emperors. The cost analysis nobody wants to talk about. Reconstructing a Roman legionary's daily ration at modern bulk prices, grain, vinegar, oil, salt, fish sauce, costs roughly $1.15. A modern military MRE costs $12. The MRE has better packaging. The Roman ration has proven shelf stability, active probiotic content, and a 500-year track record of fueling the most successful military expansion in Western history. You're not paying for better food, you're paying for better branding. Here's the part that should actually bother you. Every one of these foods is makeable. Posca is vinegar and water. Pulse is porridge. Buccellatum is flour, water, salt, baked twice. Garum takes months to make but costs almost nothing. Panis Quadratus requires flour, a hot oven, and a knife to score the top. None of it requires electricity to store. None of it requires refrigeration. None of it depends on a supply chain run by people who don't know your name. Why Rome actually fell. Historians argue about the fall of Rome for a living. Here's what they agree on. The collapse of the Roman food logistics system preceded the military collapse by decades. When the empire could no longer standardize grain distribution to the legions, when Posca disappeared from the supply manifest, when the bread factories and forward camps shut down, when Garum stopped moving through the trade network, the soldiers' health declined, morale declined, cohesion declined.
Rome didn't fall because the Germans got smarter. Rome fell because the contents of the clay jars stopped arriving. The empire wasn't held together by the eagle on the standard. It was held together by grain, vinegar, fish sauce, and twice-baked biscuit. Take those away, and the greatest military machine in human history turned into a cold, hungry mob in iron armor, standing on roads it could no longer maintain. The Romans didn't build an empire by eating well. They built it by eating right. Calculated, consistent, cheap, proven, reproducible at scale across every climate, every terrain, every generation of soldier for 5 centuries. You don't need to conquer Gaul, but the next time the power goes out for a week, or the job disappears, or the supply chain hiccups and the shelves look thin, you might want to know what's in the clay jar. Start there.